Eternal Champions is a fighting game where you need inner strength in order to perform special moves, but due to the lack of a traditional meter, it's very difficult to tell exactly how much you have left. In this video, I'll go over how inner strength works while showing the numbers in real time. There isn't much to talk about, so without further ado, let's get into it. Now the first thing I want to go over is the maximum amount of inner strength you can have and the weird UI they decided to go with. So as you can see on the right side of the screen, we have player 1's health, player 1's chi, which is their inner strength, player 1's stun, which I will get into later because that is pretty interesting on its own. And of course below it is player 2's stats, which is their health, their inner strength, and their stun. Now on the main screen is the health bars and the yin yang symbol, which represents your inner strength. If I pause the game and set player 2's chi to, again, their inner strength, but I'll refer to it as chi for now. But if I set it to 0, it should empty out on the next frame. So as you can see, it becomes a blinking circle, a blinking red circle, I should say. And you can see player 2's chi is slowly ticking up over time. And as it ticks up more and more, it'll start to fill up the yin yang symbol. And right now you can already see a problem if you haven't noticed it. The maximum amount of chi you can have is 52, which is what player 1 has right now. And as you can see, the symbol is full. But when you look at player 2's chi, it shows half a symbol, which in my mind, that's okay, half of 52, that's 26, right? But no, it's only at 14. Again, I needed to reiterate that, like, if I poke this address and set it to 0, it'll become empty. But just 14 alone will make it show half a symbol, as if you have half of your inner strength remaining, which is completely wrong. So that alone should show you that depending on the symbol is like not very reliable, because you can't really tell how much you have. And just to justify that, if I set the, actually I could just reload the save state. If player 2 performs a special move, you can see it costed 12 chi, but it still didn't take up any of the yin yang symbol. It still looks like it's full. So if I do a move again, let's try that. So 20 chi, it's still halfway. We're going to wait for it to regenerate a little bit. So let me unpause it. And yeah, like it's at 27. And just to make sure, I'm going to set this to 26 and go to the next frame. So it's literally half of the maximum amount, which is 52. And yet on screen, it shows that I have quote unquote 75% of my inner strength, which is wrong. So yeah, I just wanted to show another example that you can't really tell how much inner strength you have. And the only way you would really be able to tell is if you know the exact amount that every special move takes up, which I do plan to do all of that and like put all the numbers in the guide that I'm currently writing. So I can't show all of that now since I haven't finished that yet, but yeah, that's the only way you're going to have some idea of how much inner strength you have, because depending on these symbols is useless. Well, sorta. Obviously, if it's a blinking circle, like if I set it back to 0, then that means, okay, you have no inner strength. But like outside of that, it's kind of hard to tell. Now, the next part about inner strength is how the regeneration works. Simply put, different characters recover different amounts of chi. And this is, the timing is the same as about 2 to 3 seconds is when you get a little bit of chi back. But it depends on the character you picked. So to the left we have Jax, and to the right we have Trident. Now the game is paused at the minute. What I'm going to do is set both of their chi to 0. Again, that's their inner strength. And then I'm going to unpause it. I want you to pay close attention to the numbers. So I'm going to unpause the game now. And after about 3 seconds, you can see that Jax got 11 chi back and Trident got 6 chi back. And again, you do recover inner strength slash chi every 2 to 3 seconds, about 3 seconds. And you'll see that Jax is getting his way faster than Trident's. In fact, 11 is the highest, aka Jax, and the lowest for a character is what Trident has, which is 6. So again, I mean, I guess this is easier to figure out, like if you just went to training mode on your own, like you don't really need to resort to emulation to realize that, wait a minute, one character is getting their symbol back way faster than the other. But yeah, that's also another factor to consider. Now another thing I should mention is how taunts affect inner strength and buffs and debuffs. Well, I still have to test the buffs and debuffs first, but I just wanted to show a small example here. So Shadow has a move where she could turn into a shadow. Okay, not that move. Let me try it again. There we go. So it takes 50 chi away to perform this, and I should mention that if you do not have enough chi to perform a special move, that you cannot perform it at all, to my knowledge, at least from what I tested so far. And the way it works is that during this buff, because she's considered invincible while she's in this form, you will not regain chi over time. So like, you know, I'm moving around, I'm fighting whatever, and like you can see that my chi is not going up at all. It's not until it ends, then it starts going back up. And last but not least, the taunting. So when you taunt in this game, it costs 10 chi to perform, and it takes away 20 of the opponent's chi. And it is a bit different. I haven't tested every character yet. Like some characters, it costs 12 and it takes away 24 or 11. Like, but on average, it's usually like you spend 10 chi and it takes away 20 of the opponent's chi. Something I did not know is that, let's say I perform Shadow's move, which is this thing right here that costs 50 chi. If the opponent taunts in this case, or in any case really, where the opponent has very low chi, the lowest amount of chi is actually -10. It is not 0. What this means is it actually takes longer for the opponent to get back their chi. Like, it takes longer for them to actually get enough to get a special move, because now it's trying to take out of the negative, like when you see when she enters out of the form. So now it's trying to get out of the negative, and now it's going to take even just slightly longer for her to be able to use like a different special move or whatever. So I didn't even know that it can go into the negative. I just assumed like there's just a max amount that goes to 0. But yeah, that is the thing that can happen. So I guess in theory, technically your max strength is 62, but you can't really do anything. We have -10, so it is actually 52, and they can actually go under 0 with the least being -10. Now to talk about how stun works, and this is where it gets a little bit weird, because I can't think of, at least from a fighting game from the top of my head, that works like this. I'm sure they exist, but this is my first time seeing this, especially with the numbers up. So when I hit player 2, you should see their stun like go up. You know, it says 12, 18, and you know, it's going down really, really quickly. Now there's something you should know about this. The way stun works is that it is on a fixed timer. It doesn't matter if the opponent's fighting, if they're getting hit, if they're the ones hitting you. Regardless of what's happening on screen, the stun is on a fixed timer. Now the reason why this is important is for characters like Trident, let's say. So if I go to the safe state right here. Now Trident is one of the best characters for stunning the opponent. In fact, he actually has a projectile that instantly stuns you on one hit. Like you can see there, it did 100 stun. And to stun a character like Blade, because believe it or not, some characters have more stun resistance than others. Like Blade, it takes 40, and I think for Shadow, if I test it here, I'm gonna try to get her stun high. It should be like 35 or something like that. Yeah, so somewhere around there. But the reason why it was hard to tell is because they immediately tick down, because again, stun always ticks down no matter what's happening on screen. Now, why is this important? Well, let me show you the best example. So Trident, pretty good character. He's pretty good at stunning the opponent. He even has a really good move where he spins his Trident in place, deals a lot of damage, is a true quote-unquote combo. Like the opponent can't block during the frames, and it deals a lot of stun. It stuns pretty much the majority of the characters in the game. But if we take the stun time into consideration, something really interesting happens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set Blade stun to 5, just somewhere low enough and that I can take back down to 0. I'm going to save state it, and we're going to wait until his stun hits 0. Okay, so it just hit 0. Now I'm going to do the special move. Now you're probably wondering what happened there. Let me show you exactly what's going on. Because this move right here, it can actually stun Blade, but because the ticking is a set timer, it's fixed, you have to time it so that it ticks down right when the move is about to land. So if I do it like right when I load the save state, it actually stuns Blade. In fact, and let's go frame by frame so that I can actually explain this better. Apologies for the ghetto like editing, but I thought this was I thought not using a script would be the best way to showcase this. So I'm going to load the save state, perform the move immediately, and you can see I paused it right when Blade got stunned because this move deals 40 stun. And if I go frame by frame, you can see it ticked down because again, stun is on a fixed timer. And because it's on a fixed timer, you have to actually time your moves in a way that it could stun the opponent before the tick happens. Well, at least for the case of this move. So for example, if I wait a bit too long, like right when the tick just happened, and we go frame by frame, you can see that every hit is going up by 2, but then it goes back down. It added 2, the reason why I went from 12 to 8 is because it added 2, but every time stun is reduced, every time the tick happens, it goes down by 6. And because that tick happened, now I only deal 36 stun with this move, when it was supposed to be 40/42. So I thought that was really interesting. In fact, it explains a lot on why, like, because I remember back when I was just trying this game out, like right before I did the guide, and I was messing around with this touch of death combo that Trident technically has, but it's more viable against the CPU since they don't get out of stun quickly. But yeah, it's because the stun has this fixed timer, and depending on when you time your moves or how fast you attack, the opponent just might not get stunned because of it. And since you can't see this timer in battle, and it doesn't tick the same way as, like, you know, you can't really use the game's timer to, like, you know, think of when it's gonna tick down. It's pretty difficult to, like, keep things consistent. Like, what I'm trying to say is, stunning with this move right here, especially against someone like Blade who has 40 stun resistance, unless you're like a robot or something, or you have the numbers in front of you, you're not always going to be able to stun him, assuming all of the hits land, because you have to consider the stun ticking down, which, again, really interesting. Is it well designed? I don't know, but we will see when we get into the Sega CD version. So the Sega CD version is more or less the same in terms of how, not in terms of the gameplay. I know there's a lot of different stuff about that, but I mean specifically like the base mechanics of the meters, like the inner strength and stuff. But there are some actual changes here. So these include taunts, which have been nerfed. In the Sega Genesis version, it costed 10 to perform and it took away 20 of the opponent's chi. In this version, it costs 5 to perform and it takes away 10 of their chi. So it's not as oppressive as the Sega Genesis version. Another thing that's very, very interesting about this port is that if you look at player 2's stun, it actually takes slightly longer for it to go down. It's not that noticeable, like maybe I'd have to put them like back to back, but your stun going lower over time, it's still on a fixed timer no matter what. Like no matter what is going on screen, it's going to go down. But it is actually slightly slower than the Genesis version. And along with like combos being more real in this port compared to the Genesis port, as you can imagine, it's much easier to stun characters in this game. Now to top it all off, I should mention a few more things. In the Sega Genesis version, Shadow's buff, the one that makes her invincible, it costed 50 in the Genesis version, but in this port, it makes her go to -10. So I guess that is actually kind of like a nerf in this sense, because, you know, it takes more of your chi away, and now that you're at -10, it's going to take quite a while for it to come back. But as you saw there, during that transformation, she was actually getting her chi back, which to my, like, again, maybe I have to look at the timing, but I'm pretty sure from what we see in the Genesis version, that does not happen. Like usually when you have a buff like that, it doesn't go up, but for that case, it actually does. And again, same thing for characters like Blade, where he can activate a buff like this. I don't know if I got to show it in the Genesis version, but in the Genesis version, he would not be getting chi back right now, but in this version, he does. And of course, there are some other changes, like if I do Trident's spin, it doesn't deal as much stun. You can see that it didn't go up to like 30 or 40. Maybe it is dependent on like the positioning, but obviously it's not as oppressive as it was in the Sega Genesis version. So yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about for now. Again, I still have a lot of exploring with this game to do. I still want to try to figure out some cool stuff if possible. And of course, I am still writing the guide for both the Sega Genesis and the Sega CD version of Eternal Champions. And I should also mention that when I do finish these guides, all of the special moves, I will note how much inner strength each one of them takes up and all that. And I am well aware that the CPU cheats and they have infinite inner strength, so I can't wait to get annoyed with how that works. But I hope this video was helpful nonetheless, and with that said, I'll see you later.